Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Vajajana Randana. Yashodanandana Vajajana Randana. Here, on this side. Prabhu, please. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari. Jai Mr. Paramahamsa, Bhagavadgitacharya, Ashtottara Shishimad is divine grace. Sheila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Sheila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa, Bhagavadgitacharya, Ashtottara Shishimad is divine grace. Sheila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnavanda ki jai. Namacharya Sheila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Prabhu, are you going to stay for class? Oh, okay. I will. Okay. We are going to be on page 219. Would you like to read along? There's a book for you. Is it okay? Okay. 219. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 11th day of June 2019 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in chapter 4 entitled Transcendental Knowledge, text number 32, page 219. Evam bahuvedayagya vitata brahmano mukhe karmajan vidhitan sarvan evam gyatva vimokshase evam bahuvedayagya vitata brahmano mukhe karmajan vidhitan sarvan evam gyatva vimokshase evam bahuvidhayagya vitata brahmano mukhe karmajan vidhitan sarvan evam gyatva vimokshase. Evam bahuvedayagya vitata brahmano mukhe Karmajan vidditan sakan. Evam gatva vimokshase. Evam bahuvidha yajna. Vitata brahmano mukhe. Karmajan vidditan sarvan. Evam gatva vimokshase. Evam bahuvidha yajna. Vitata brahmano mukhe. Karmajan vidditan sarvan. Evam gatva vimokshase. Evam, thus, bahuvidaha, various kinds of yajnaha, sacrifices, vitataha, are spread, brahmanaha, of the Vedas, mukhe, through the mouth, karmajan, born of work, vidhi, you should know, tan, them, sarvan, all, evam, thus, gatva, knowing, vimokshase, you will be liberated. Translation. All these different types of sacrifice are approved by the Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated. Purport. Different types of sacrifice, as discussed above, are mentioned in the Vedas to suit the different types of worker. Because men are so deeply absorbed in the bodily concept, these sacrifices are so arranged that one can work either with the body, with the mind, or with the intelligence. But all of them are recommended for ultimately bringing about liberation from the body. This is confirmed by the Lord herewith from his own mouth. Om jnana timirandasya jnananjana shalakya chakshu unmidatam mena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Sheila Palmer opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Shri Parampara. So yajna is prescribed in the Vedas for the benefit of the human beings. Krishna says right in the 3rd chapter, text 9, yajnartat karmano nyatra loko vyam karma bandhanaha, that everything we do should be done as a sacrifice for Vishnu. Now it's interesting that yajna is another name for Vishnu. So here this word means one should sacrifice, one's work should be a sacrifice for the benefit of Vishnu. Otherwise, whatever we do is binding us to this material world. So in the process of bhakti yoga, yajna is an integral part. Just as I was mentioning last night, in the 18th chapter, Krishna describes these 3 aspects that make human life civilized. Yajna, dana, and tapa. The sacrifice, charity, and austerity. And you find in the process of bhakti yoga that those are woven integrally into the process. After all, to just follow the program that Sheila Prabhupada gave us, say for those who live in the temple. So it means getting up really early in the morning. Right away you're sacrificing your sleep, right? Then you come, taking a cold shower, you come down and we worship the Guru with the Guru Vashtaka prayers. So it's a sacrifice and it's a tapasya at the same time. It's an austerity. So what is the goal of doing that? Now, in the Vedas, there are so many sacrifices prescribed where the goal may be to go to the heavenly planets or get a good birth in this world, or something we would call material. It may be more refined than something gross that you get here, but still it's a selfish desire. But Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he's describing this sacrifice, as will become plain in the next few verses, as part of a process of purification so that we realize our actual nature, which is to be eternal servants of Krishna. That's what real yajna means. And that's why Srila Prabhupada, in these purports, he comes back repeatedly to the Yuga Dharma, to the Dharma of this age, which is Sankirtan Yajna, Sankirtan sacrifice, which comparatively speaking to other sacrifices, where you may be marshalling so many Brahmins to chant mantras and pouring so much ghee into the fire and so many things. But the motive is something material. But this yajna, the motive is not material. And the sacrifice is a very pleasant one. Come together and sing and dance and have nice music, and at the end, when you get a little tired after chanting and chanting, they take prasadam. Now, was that so difficult? Prabhupada started the whole movement on that basis. This is Lord Chaitanya's program. Lord Chaitanya is Krishna. He came to give the Yuga Dharma. And the Yuga Dharma in this age is Sankirtan Yajna. We know that from the Bhagavad Purana, from the Srimad Bhagavatam. In the 11th canto, there are these teachings of the 9 yogi sons of Rishabdev, called the Yogendras. And one of them is describing the different avatars that appear in the different yugas. And when he gets to the Kali Yuga, he chants this verse, which many devotees know because it predicts the advent of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He says, Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sangopangasta Parshadam Yagyar Sankirtana Praya Yajantihi Sumedasa. You remember that one? She knows. So, in this age, the avatars, Krishna Varnam. Now this means different things. Some of our commentators, our great acharyas, say it means that he's always uttering the syllables Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Or it means he belongs to the varna, or the category of Krishna. In other words, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But Tvisha Akrishnam, his complexion is not blackish like Krishna's, but it's golden, Akrishnam. And therefore he's the golden avatar, Lord Chaitanya. Saanga Upanga Astra Parshadam. And he comes not alone, but as Krishna never comes alone either, in his original form, but he comes with his immediate angas, his limbs, such as Nityananda, Advaita, Gadadhar, and Srivas in the Panchatattva. And his upa-angas, his other close associates, such as Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Roy. And his Parshadas, means all the other devotees who preached with him in Navadvip and Puri and everything. This is indicating some of his intimate associates. And his astra. Astra means weapon. Now, it's pointed out, astra, there's Lord Chaitanya standing there with Nityananda. Their hands are open. Sometimes they're carrying kartals, but that's not a weapon. Lord Krishna came, and he had his chakra that he used, It's interesting that in his Vraj Leela, he never used any weapons. You notice that? He'll kill Putana by, sucking the breast and sucking the life air out. He killed Agasura by entering in and expanding and choking. He killed Vatsasura and Dhenukasura by throwing them around into the trees. One after another, he has some means. And Bakasura just pulled his beaks apart. He's not a Kshatriya. He doesn't have any weapons, but he's still pretty formidable. But as soon as he leaves Vrindavan and he goes to Mathura, first of all, he's still in the mood with the coward boy. He's all with his coward boys, right? So when the first demon he kills is the washerman. You remember the washerman? I was just reading this in the Krishna book. He enters into Mathura, and the first, all of the residents are just completely taken with his beauty. They want to see, especially the ladies that are up on the top of the palaces looking at him and Balaram. And he meets this washerman who happens to be a servant of King Kamsa. And he has all these clothes that he just washed. And Krishna says to him, just give me some of the best clothes, and you'll benefit so much, But he's in the mode of serving the king. And he says, don't talk like that anymore. These clothes belong to the king, and I personally experienced that he'll arrest you and be into trouble. So you know what Krishna does? Karate chop. He chops off his head just with his hand. It's a little gruesome, So, and then the boys, Krishna dressed himself. So now he's no longer in the coward attire. He's more in the princely attire in Mathura. So he goes on like that. And the next thing that happens is that the fight he has with the Kubaliyapida, with this big elephant that Kamsa thought that, he's so huge and formidable and he's trained to crush, he'll kill Krishna and Balaram when they come. So, of course, Krishna, he did a dance with this big elephant. And eventually he pulled out his tusk and killed the elephant and the elephant driver with it. So the tusk isn't a weapon either. Now he's got that, and he uses that to wipe out some of the soldiers of Kamsa. So he still has not used a weapon, you see. And ultimately he wrestles with, the wrestlers, with Chanura. The Chanura is a big wrestling match. As you can see, Krishna is just a delicate little boy of 15, you know. This is man mountain, huge wrestler, you know, big bulging muscles, you know. You should wrestle with us. The king wants it, you know. And Krishna is playing this. Oh, well, we don't think it's good. I mean, I'm used to wrestling with my boys in the forest, but you're a professional, you know. And they insisted, no, the king wants it. And so he says, okay. So I'll wrestle with Chanura, and Brother Balaram will wrestle with Mushtika. Mushtika means big fist, and Chanura means he crushes you to powder, right? So even the names are scary. So Krishna wrestles, and all the women are getting very upset. Look, these delicate little boys are, you know, it's not a fair fight. So finally, Krishna does that, just like he did with Kali. He draws out the emotion, you know, and finally, he just whips this Chanura around, and through the turning around again, he dies. And meanwhile, Balaram, I think he just punches him in the chest or something, this Mushtika, and he collapses, you know. So still they haven't used any weapons. And finally he kills Kamsa by knocking him off the dais and dragging him around and sometimes punching him, you know. Still no weapons. So then he frees his parents, and finally he sends his father home. You know, this is a very dramatic scene. He surrenders to his parents. Vasudeva and Devaki, he frees them, you know, and it's a whole dramatic scene. And so then he's set up there, and the prince, and finally Jarasan comes because he killed Kamsa. That means Kamsa's 2 wives were Jarasan's daughters. And so they have to go back home now. They're widows forever. So you can see what a trouble that was for Jarasan. He thought he'd married them off, and now they're back home. You know, so he became extra angry. He was also an ally of Kamsa. So he decides to attack Mathura with a huge army, millions of soldiers and elephants and infantry and everything. And so he surrounds Mathura, and it looks like a big ocean. How are they going to, you know, what can Krishna do? So he goes out with a little squad of soldiers, him and Balaram. And all the residents are up on the parapets and looking at what's going to happen, you know? Then, and only then, in the mood of a kshatriya, he calls down from the heavens 2 chariots, fully equipped with weapons and everything, and horses. And one has his flag with Garuda, and the other one, I think Balaram, is it Hanuman that he has, or something? So then he mounts the 2 chariots, and they take on this huge army with this little squadron of soldiers. What's going to happen? So then Krishna pulls the bow, and he starts shooting out fiery arrows. They're just annihilating everything. The elephants and the horses and the soldiers and everything, everyone but Jarasan gets killed. And there's literally rivers of blood. You know, it's kind of a ghastly scene there. So he's now in the Kshatriya mood. He's taken on he was born in the Kshatriya as Vasudeva, but he's immediately transferred to Vrindavan, and he was playing as the coward. So it's interesting, and from then on, he always has weapons that he uses. So that was a little bit of a diversion, but I think it was worth it. So now back to Lord Chaitanya. He has his astra, he has his weapons, but obviously they're not. He doesn't wield the chakra. He was wielding it once. I don't know if you know the pastime when Lord Nityananda and Haridas were preaching in Navadvip, and they come across Jagai Madhai. Jagai and Madhai were born Brahmins, but they deviated by bad association, and they became drunkards and thieves and dacoits of all description. And people would give them a wide berth, you know. So Nityananda says, oh, these are perfect examples of Kali Yuga. If I can convert them, then Lord Chaitanya will be glorified. If I can make them chant Hare Krishna. So he goes, the first time they come with Haridas, he comes with Haridas, he says, please chant Hare Krishna. Actually, there's 3 things. Bolo Krishna, Bojo Krishna, Goro Krishna Shikha. This is the instruction that Lord Chaitanya says, this is how you preach. And he was preaching, he was telling all the houses that they would go to this formula. I put it into a little poem. Just chant Shri Krishna's name and worship him with all your heart. Follow his instructions and to others them impart. We can also take that formula. This is Lord Chaitanya. So that's the last thing that Jagai Madhai wanted to hear. You know, say, well, you're instructing us, you know, and they started running after them. This is the first encounter. And Nityananda and Haridas are running away. And Haridas is joking with Nityananda, I told you this was a crazy idea. Why, you know, now we're going. So they're running, and meanwhile, Jagai Madai, they're completely drunk, And after 100 yards or so, they fall down, and then they start fighting each other, and so that they're delivered from the danger. So the next day, or a couple of days later, he goes back, and he sees him again. And this time, Nityananda says the same thing. This time, Madhai throws a little shard of a broken pot, and he cuts Lord Nityananda seriously, and blood starts flowing seriously. So Nityananda says, no problem, I don't care. Please chant Hare Krishna. So Madhai was ready to throw a big pot, and Jagai came to his senses and held his arm. No, he's a saintly person, don't do that. Meanwhile, Lord Chaitanya got news of what had happened, and he came to the spot wielding his chakra. It's Krishna after all. And he was ready to finish off Jagai Madai, Nityananda stopped him. He said, no, my Lord, in this incarnation you promised not to do any killing. These are representatives of everybody in Kali Yuga. You shouldn't just deliver them, and this will be the real success of your mission like that. So, plus, Nityananda said, you see this Jagai? He's prevented Madai from hurting me again. He says, oh, very good. Meanwhile, Jagai Madai, they're paralyzed. Oh my God, this is Krishna with his chakra. So Jagai hit the floor with the dandavats. And Lord Chaitanya delivered him because he had saved Nityananda the second time. See? So he says, yes. And meanwhile, so Jagai went into ecstasy. He's got prema. Suddenly he's delivered, he's completely purified. So Madai says, oh, this is a good deal. So let me go down. I said, please deliver me. He says, no. You've offended Nitai. You have to get your mercy from him. So he says, oh, please deliver me. And so Nityananda says, yes, certainly. So Lord Chaitanya says, yes, you can be delivered, but you have to make one promise. No more sinful activities. All the sins you performed are forgiven, eradicated. You see? But no more. And so they agreed, and they became great devotees. And Lord Chaitanya told his other devotees, don't regard anything that they did before. That's all forgiven and neutralized now. And they became the first class followers of Lord Chaitanya. And everybody was amazed, and Lord Chaitanya's fame went on. So Lord Chaitanya's astra, his weapon, is the holy name. The holy name doesn't kill the person, like the chakras or the arrows or anything else, but it kills the demoniac propensities in the heart and purification. It is said in this age, in previous ages, the demons and devotees were from different planets. If you read the Bhagavatam, you see, there's the demons are attacking the demigods on their planets, like that. And then as time went on, the demons were in different parts of the country, or parts of the world. Then they're in the same country, and in this age, they're in the same body. We all have our demonic tendencies, right? Where we want to forget about Krishna and just try to enjoy, and we like to read the 16th chapter. This is our favorite chapter at that time. But then we have our saintly tendencies, and Krishna consciousness diminishes the demons and increase the saintly part of our personality, until hopefully we become completely pure, and the demonic part will be completely eradicated. So Lord Chaitanya's movement, the chanting the holy name of Krishna, it reduces the demonic tendency. And we can tell that because we become less and less attracted to just enjoy a sense gratification, which in this age means practically be very sinful. No, that's not attractive at all. Let me chant Hare Krishna, let me go to the temple, and like that. So that's Lord Chaitanya's avatar. And how do we worship him? Yagyaya sankirtana prayaya jantihi sumedasa. Those who are intelligent, sumedasa, they will chiefly worship this avatar by the sankirtan jagya. And that brings us back to the Bhagavad Gita. You will understand these different types of sacrifice are approved by the Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated. Now, Krishna consciousness really takes us beyond this, because Sankirtan Jagya is not born of work. Anyone from any class, any practically species, even the dogs can take part, Prabhupada says, can practice this Jagya, this simple, attractive Jagya. I remember listening to a lecture where Prabhupada says, you don't even need kartals. Just sit down with your family in the evening and clap and chant Hare Krishna. It's so tough. But of course we know that the chanting becomes more attractive to our conditioned mind when there's beautiful music and everything, and so that's fine. Just like prasadam is always prasadam, But when it's really prepared with skill and love and offered, it becomes that much more attractive. And that's good, it becomes purifying. So that's the ultimate conclusion of this chapter, we'll see, is that you understand sacrifice, then we come to the point of the Sankirtan Yajna. Okay, let's go on. Now he's going to talk about the difference between sacrifice of things and sacrifice leading to knowledge. Text 33. Shreyan dravyamaya yagyaj jnana yagya parantapa sarvam karma kilam parta jnani parisamapyate. O chastiser of the enemy, the sacrifice performed in knowledge is better than the mere sacrifice of material possessions. After all, O son of Pritha, all sacrifices of work culminate in transcendental knowledge. Purport. The purpose of all sacrifices is to arrive at the status of complete knowledge, then to gain release from material miseries, and, ultimately, to engage in loving transcendental service to the Supreme Lord, Krishna consciousness. Nonetheless, there is a mystery about all these different activities of sacrifice, and one should know this mystery. Sacrifices sometimes take different forms according to the particular faith of the performer. When one's faith reaches the stage of transcendental knowledge, the performer of sacrifices should be considered more advanced than those who simply sacrifice material possessions without such knowledge. For without attainment of knowledge, sacrifices remain on the material platform and bestow no spiritual benefit. Real knowledge culminates in Krishna consciousness, the highest stage of transcendental knowledge. Without the elevation of knowledge, sacrifices are simply material activities. When, however, they are elevated to the level of transcendental knowledge, all such activities enter onto the spiritual platform. Depending on differences in consciousness, sacrificial activities are sometimes called karma kanda, fruit of activities, and sometimes jnana kanda, knowledge in the pursuit of truth. It is better when the end is knowledge. So, this is something that we should understand. Why did Sheila Prabhupada take so much trouble to write these books and to constantly speak on devotional service? Because we may chant Hare Krishna, which is always auspicious, but when we understand why we're doing it, and we understand the different ways in which we're progressing, and we understand who Krishna is and the power of the holy name, then our faith is deepened. You see, because the whole process rests on faith. When we cultivate transcendental knowledge, this is not only pleasurable in and of itself, because that knowledge includes thinking of Krishna's form and his activities and so forth, and his very words. But it also purifies our intelligence, which is ultimately very, very important. When we think about anything we do, we realize that the intelligence is really a key element. When we're concentration and understanding why we're doing it and how we're doing it, you bring so much to the activity. It's not just a physical activity. So that intelligence is the defining quality of human life. This is the superior intelligence. And the process of Krishna consciousness includes so much of that. That's why we're meant to hear the Shastra, the transcendental sounds. The Bhagavad Gita, Sheila Palmer took so much effort to write these books, so that our intelligence will become strengthened and our faith will be deepened. So when we undertake activities, even if there may be some difficulties or not, our determination becomes fixed, because we understand, oh, this is very important that I do this, even though it's maybe difficult. So that's the sacrifice that now, just when you open a book of transcendental knowledge and you read, you're sacrificing some of your time. You could be doing something else. But instead of doing that something else for sense gratification, you're sacrificing your time and you're allowing your intelligence to be purified. So when the sacrifice culminates in knowledge, it's said to be superior. Any kind of sacrifice is auspicious, but this kind of sacrifice is transcendental and is recommended. And then the next verse is a key verse, one of the key verses in the 4th chapter. the importance of the instructor, of the acharya. Tadvidhi stop me if you have any questions or comments. You can raise your hand. Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena seveya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tatpadarshinaha. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. Purport. The path of spiritual realization is undoubtedly difficult. The Lord therefore advises us to approach a bona fide spiritual master in the line of disciplic succession from the Lord himself. No one can be a bona fide spiritual master without following this principle of disciplic succession. The Lord is the original spiritual master, and a person in the disciplic succession can convey the message of the Lord as it is to his disciple. No one can be spiritually realized by manufacturing his own process, as is the fashion of the foolish pretenders. The Bhagavatam 6.3.19 says, Dharmam tu sakshad bhagavat pranitam. This is spoken by Yamaraj, by the way. The path of religion is directly enunciated by the Lord. Therefore, mental speculation or dry arguments cannot help lead one to the right path, nor by independent study of books of knowledge can one progress in spiritual life. One has to approach a bona fide spiritual master to receive the knowledge. Such a spiritual master should be accepted in full surrender, and one should serve the spiritual master like a menial servant, without false prestige. Satisfaction of the self-realized spiritual master is the secret of advancement in spiritual life. Inquiries and submission constitute the proper combination for spiritual understanding. Unless there is submission and service, inquiries from the learned spiritual master will not be effective. One must be able to pass the test of the spiritual master, and when he sees the genuine desire of the disciple, he automatically blesses the disciple with genuine spiritual understanding. In this verse, both blind following and absurd inquiries are condemned. Not only should one hear submissively from the spiritual master, but one must also get a clear understanding from him in submission and service and inquiries. A bona fide spiritual master is by nature very kind toward the disciple. Therefore, when the student is submissive and is always ready to render service, the reciprocation of knowledge and inquiries becomes perfect. So this is a very important verse in the Bhagavad Gita, not just the 4th chapter. And maybe just by this one thought, we can understand the import of this verse, that Krishna consciousness, bhakti yoga, is ultimately a personal discipline. The whole idea is to rediscover our personal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and to see the presence of the Lord in everything. And that requires, as I mentioned, the development of faith, the undertaking of the process of sadhana bhakti, because when we read a little bit of the Bhagavad Gita, we understand we are conditioned by so many births in this material world. It's just like we know in our own lives, if you associate in a certain way with, say, just a certain kind of music, or a certain kind of food, or a certain kind of person, that will affect you. It will affect your demeanor, it may affect your ideas, it will affect your mood, and really what it means is that by sangha, by association, you take on whatever you associate with. This is a fact of nature. We are very infinitesimal souls. And we are in this, each of us is in a material body that is composed of the elements that are described in the 7th chapter. And because we're detached from Krishna, artificially, we're subject to the influence of all of this material nature. Who can deny it? And so, how to manage our life in such a way that we become unconditioned, and that we are able to neutralize this conditioning which we have cultivated for millions of births, it requires, obviously, some very careful guidance. And Prabhupada describes very graphically in the 7th chapter, text 14, where Daivi Esha Gunamahi Mama Maya Dorotteya Mame Vyepa Padinte Maya Me Tantadantite. Krishna is describing there the material energy, how he's created everything, and then it's being conducted by these three modes of nature. And that this energy of mind called nature, he calls it Gunamayi, is composed of these modes of nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance. One cannot cross beyond it or overcome it by one's own energy. Duratya means impossible to cross over. We may understand, I'm conditioned and I want to be liberated, right? So many people. Well, how to do it? Well, okay, I'll just meditate. I'll give this up, give this up, give this up, and I'll start doing that. But it's too powerful. We're too habituated. Eventually, we fall prey to the illusions and the allurements of this material world. So, but then he says, but one who surrenders unto me can easily cross beyond it. So this is the key. How to effect that surrender to Krishna. That has to be by the medium of the spiritual master. Prabhupada gives us the example, and it's very logical. A spiritual master in this line, a guru, is one who is very dear to Krishna. Either he's sent from the spiritual world, or by his own practice he's become pure, and he's now completely in tune with Krishna's desires. That means he's very dear to Krishna. The whole purpose of this is to become dear to Krishna, or just realize that we are dear to Krishna and act in that way. So it's just, Prabhupada said, so Krishna is so great, we cannot see him, we cannot approach him directly. But he has his emissaries, just like you have an ambassador, from a nation, the American ambassador in England somewhere, You can approach the country in a way by approaching the ambassador. You see? And if you enter into the embassy, you're actually in the United States, right? Legally, isn't it? Or you want to meet a great personage, man or woman, whoever it may be. Well, they're they're inaccessible. But if you happen to know one of their dear friends, you can say, can you introduce me? Okay. And take you right through, all the gates. So that's the same thing with the spiritual master. And that's why the pleasing the spiritual master is equivalent to pleasing Krishna. You know that Krishna is pleased. And what is the spiritual master asking you to do? Chant Hare Krishna, take prasadam, get up early in the morning, give up your nonsense. In other words, he's right there, In other words, the personage is there to give you encouragement. And I have to, every time I give class, because I'm reading this Lilamrita again, Prabhupada Lilamrita, and it's such a wonderful thing how Prabhupada, carefully nurtured the growing plant of devotion in the Westerners, my contemporaries back in 1966, 67. He's in San Francisco. Then he had to go back to India. He almost died, in May of '67. So he went back to India. Some of them joined him. Achyutananda came to see him, and this devotee named Ranchor, who was kind of, he never shaved his beard. He was a little bit rebellious, but okay, you can stay for a while, like that. And then, and Kirtananda, of course, was there with him. So he kept writing, and getting letters from back home, and there was this tremendous bond, this love. Prabhupada had tried so hard and then finally it was a little flourishing, the plants were growing, and he wanted to leave India. India, he had already tried so hard, but it wasn't possible. They were too kind of stuck, But in America, he found some fertile soil, So finally he returns. He left, and it was such a close call. He almost expired. He had a heart attack, went into the hospital. He had the devotees in San Francisco. He had two centers, in New York and San Francisco. So just chant, keep chanting and pray to the Lord. My spiritual master has not completed his work, And Prabhupada's lying in the hospital, and the Brahmananda and Kirtananda, they're massaging him in certain ways, and he touch and go. It's such a tremendous bond there, that developed. And, then he couldn't get any sun. They had him on the beach in New Jersey. Then he went to the beach in San Francisco, but San Francisco can be like overcast all the time, even in the summer. So finally he goes back to India. And then the part I've read now, he's just returned. a few months later, he's still 67, it's like December of 67, he comes back and the devotees are just crying, he came back, and it's all his love. And they hardly know anything about devotional service, but they've experienced, the blessings of the chanting, and Sheila Prabhupada's, he introduced deity worship there with the Jagannath deities, the first Jagannath deities, amazing. They had the first Rath Yatra. And so he was the whole movement then, and he would tell them to do something, they had no idea why, and gradually increased. And so this verse is directly realized, and proven. But the formula is this: pranipatena, prashnena, and sevya. Those three elements have to be there. There has to be that surrendering. And it's perfectly exemplified in the Bhagavad Gita by Arjuna. The whole first chapter, Arjuna is arguing with Krishna, right? So he represents us in the sense that his duty, the whole thing is culminating in this battle, and Arjuna is the hero he has to fight, for the sake of Dharma, for reinstituting Dharma in the world, right? Because it had been usurped by Duryodhana. They were, conspiring. And so Arjuna knows his duty, and they've been moving it toward this forever. Krishna, he knows Krishna wants it. He's right on the chariot there. But his heart, his gut is telling him, oh no, I don't want to kill Bhishma. He's such a great soul. He's the grandfather of the dynasty. And there's my teacher, Jonah. And he taught me everything I know about martial arts. And then my friends, there's my brother-in-law and so forth. This is terrible. What's the use of this battle? I'll win the kingdom, and it'll be soaked with the blood of the people I love. Forget it. I'm going to the forest. I'll just beg. But that wouldn't work. He's a big kshatriya. And so besides, Krishna wants me to fight the battle. So now I'm caught. I'm paralyzed, right? And he drops his bow and is crying. So this is his situation. And Krishna, in the mood of a chariot driver, the chariot driver is supposed to buck up the warrior on the chariot. He said, give up this uttishta jagrata, he says, chakto tishta parantaba. Give up this unmanliness. How has this come upon you? Get up and fight, and don't, and stop this nonsense. But he says, oh, how can I fight with arrows, Bhishma, Even if they want the kingdom, they're avaricious, I can't, there's no way I can do it. And so he appeals, I cannot fight. And Govinda, I shall not fight. But in the meantime, he has this key verse where he says, Karpanya dosho pahatat svabhava prichami tvam dharma samhuda cheta yakshe yaksyanishtitam bruhi tanme shishyasteham shadiman tvam papannam. And this is a really key verse. He says, I'm not myself. Karpanya dosho pahatat svabhava. My svabhava, my real nature as a kshatriya, has been eclipsed by all of this confusion I'm feeling and these emotions. This is called miserly weakness, whatever you call it, karpanya dosha. And so I'm asking you, please tell me for certain what's best for me. Dharma samuda cheta. I'm bewildered about what my real dharma is, which is a key question in the Vedic culture and should be for all human beings. If we're not asking that question, then we're not really human. The thing that differentiates us from the animals is dharma. After all, it is said in the Hitopadesh. You know what Hitopadesh means? Instructions for the benefit of the people, right? So he says, ahara nidra bayamaitanangcha samanyam pashupi samana dharmena hina. No, it says, dharmo hitesham adigo vishesho dharmena hina pashupi samana. That we share these with the animals, because after all, we've come up through the species, so we're animals to some degree. Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. We do that in our own polished way, and the animals do it in a crude way, but it's the same thing. So what's the difference? Dharma hitesham adhiko vishesha. The vishesha, the difference is dharma, that in human society there's a sense of a duty for a higher goal, for progress in life. That's a general definition of dharma. Really what dharma means is to act according to your real nature, right? The root of the word dharma is dri, that which sustains your nature. So what is our actual nature? To be servants, the servants of Krishna. And if we don't serve Krishna, we'll serve something else, under the illusion that we're masters. We're actually serving our lust, our greed, the senses, our boss, right? Our kids. We're all serving something. But that service propensity is meant primarily for Krishna. Then everything falls into place. We've forgotten that. So, without Dharma, human life is no better than animal life. So, Arjuna is very concerned. He's bewildered. What is my real Dharma? Is it to leave the battlefield and so that I can see my friends alive? Or is it to fight the battle, in spite of all my misgivings? So he says, now I'm a soul surrendered to you. Please instruct me. Shishya-steham shadimantam papanna. That papanna is the same as this pranipatena. Is that I surrender to you, no more friendly talks. We haven't reached any goal, and you can go for hours without any progress. So I'm giving that up. Now I'm your shishya. Now Prabhupada talks about this word, I think in that purport, or maybe in a lecture that I heard, that the word shishya, every Sanskrit has a little root, right? So the root of the word shishya is shas. It's the same as the root for the word shastra and shishya. Shash means to be controlled. You'll be controlled by the shastra, weapon. Or, if you're intelligent, you agree to be controlled by the shastra, that you'll take these instructions to heart. And a shishya agrees to be controlled by the guru, by the spiritual master. So Arjuna says, all right, we're not friends no more. I mean, we're friends, but the relationship now I'm taking is a shishya. And so Krishna, what does he do? First thing he does is chastises. He says, Ashochan navashocastram pragyabarang sabhachase. You're in anxiety, you're lamenting for what is not lamentable, namely the physical body. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor the dead. So he says, you're talking like a pundit, but you're actually a fool, number one. So that's the role. Okay, so instruct me, like that. So our willingness to, first of all, find the bona fide spiritual master, which we can know from the Shastra, and then to surrender and to ask questions. We have to be inquisitive. This is the first thing. Atato brahma jigyasa. Human life means to be inquisitive about the absolute truth. We're inquisitive. I mean, questions are being asked everywhere. But to be inquisitive about the Brahman, the source of everything, the sustainer of everything, that's human life. So that has to be there, pranipashnena, and service. That service attitude opens up the channel when we actually perform service. Then the spiritual master is very eager to enlighten and to give the knowledge. So that is good. And then what do you get? Upadikshanti te jnanam. You can receive the actual knowledge. And from the tattvadarshi. There has to be realized souls who've seen the truth. So this verse is very key. And then the next verse, which we'll maybe we can do tomorrow, unless maybe if you have any discussion on these points, what's the result of that knowledge that you get? It's so nice. Otherwise, okay. I'll give you have a question? Go ahead. Ace. Spoke that Dharmam Tisakshat. No. What the context of that in the 6th canto is in the story of Ajamil. And Ajamil was I don't know if you have time for the whole story, but he was a Brahmin and trained very nicely. And he was out in the forest getting some firewood, which is a traditional thing you do, humble service for the guru. But on the way back, he saw a low-class couple, engaging in some lewd activity, and he lost his composure, and he fell from his standard, and so then he married that prostitute, and he became like a low-class guy. He was a criminal, and he had many kids, and like that. And everything became covered for his whole lifetime. But from his training, he named his children after names of God. And so, are those yours? in the lobby there? No. Okay, I guess they're out. Okay. Oh, that's Vrindavan's girl. Local. Okay, so he had the presence of mind to name his children after the names of God, and he was 80 years old. He had a little boy who was named Narayan. So finally the time of death comes, and the Yamadutas come, which are real. Actually, you talk to any nurse, and they'll find sometimes there's something called terminal restlessness, and people actually see them, coming, they give you some sedative or something. But these are real. So he's seeing them come, and he calls out, Narayan! to his young boy, that's there. And because he called the name, immediately the Vishnu Dutas come to save him from imminent death. And they're more powerful than the Yamadutas. They don't know who they are. So who are you guys? He's been sinful all his life. He's definitely eligible. Said, they laughed. You don't understand Dharma at all. They didn't tell him about the holy name. So when they get back to Yamaraj, he explains about the power of the holy name. That one chanting freedom from all the sin, because he was chanting, offenselessessly. He was chanting from the bottom of his heart. So Jonel didn't go back to Godhead from that. He got a second chance. We compiled a book about that. And he went off to the Himalayas, went further, and then he went back to Godhead. But meanwhile, Yamaraj is instructing his dutas, his representatives, in the science of the holy name. And within that instruction, this verse comes, Dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat panitam, which means that Dharma is directly enunciated by Bhagavan and no one else. In other words, you can't make up your own Dharma. This is the problem. There's so many religions being created every day on the internet, But they're not real religion. They're just fooling people. So this is the whole point. Prabhupada gave Bhagavad Gita as it is. This instruction of Krishna, this is real Dharma, as given by the pure, transparent medium of his pure devotee. What would we know of Bhagavad Gita if Prabhupada didn't take the trouble of putting it into English? That's the first thing. And as it is. So the other part of that instruction of Yamaraj, there's other verses, but the other most famous one is where he lists the Mahajans, those who are representatives, who are they don't create the Dharma, but they're pure propagators of the Dharma in this world. And they're 12. Swayambhu, Narada, Shambhu, Komara, Kapilo Manu, Prahlado, Janago Bhishmo, and Bali, Vyasaki, Vayam. Vayam means we, it's royal we. Yamaraj is speaking, says, I'm also one of the carriers. So Swayambhu is self-born Brahma. Narada is Narada Muni. Shambhu is Shiva. The Kumaras, the 4 Kumaras, they count as one. Kapila Muni. And Manu, the Swayambhuva Manu. Then comes Prahlad Maharaj, Janaka Maharaj, the father of Sita. And Bhishma Dev, who's right on the battlefield. He's also Mahajan. He has some very wonderful instructions in the 9th chapter, 1st canto, in his prayers. And Bali is Bali Maharaj. Vyasaki is that Shukadev? He's Shukadev Goswami. And Vayam is Dharmaraj or Yamaraj. So that's and you find those Mahajans, they appear throughout Bhagavatam, giving instruction, except for Janaka. I don't think he appears. But Narada, every canto, he's the most prominent. He comes in and has instructions that are so important. So that Dharma, we're given such wonderful. What is real Dharma? We could consult Prabhupada's books and those who are following Prabhupada's books and are descending. And Sheila Prabhupada himself, you have the lectures directly. I airdropped all of Prabhupada's lectures onto her iPhone. I mean, you couldn't do that so long ago. Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
So many devotees not do that. They choose to, take Sheila Prabhupada.
Yes. Yeah.
They're bona fide master, but Sheila Prabhupada, and they following perhaps all the principles. Some of them, some not, or
Yeah.
here and there or wherever it is. But also they love Krishna. They're really good people. They embrace their transcendental qualities of the soul. So they think of Krishna all the time. So what can you comment on? So what happens to those that don't take living good?
Yeah. This is a little late to answer that question right now. You come back tomorrow, we'll discuss that. It's time for the kirtan. Maybe after we can discuss. All glory to Srila Prabhupada.